And now we're moving on to consent grouping. Any consent grouping item can be removed for separate consideration by a board member request. All consent grouping items will be adopted in one motion with a roll call vote. This time I'm looking to entertain a motion or request for suppression.
I'll move that we adopt the consent grouping as presented.
Support.
Okay, so we got motion by Hamming and support by Dickman. Is there any discussion, board? Seeing there's no discussion, we'll take a roll call vote, please, Ann.
Hinton.
Yes.
Huson.
Yes.
Powers.
Yes.
Dickman.
Yes.
Hammond, yes. Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you, board. All right, that takes us down speedily to board items for information. Special education update, Ms. Hammer. I apologize, Ms. Hammer, special education director.
It's whatever, it's all good.
It's very difficult looking over my shoulder. Let's see.
Right, I know, there's several, right? It works.
Do you want the podium?
Oh,
Okay.
all right, well, thanks, everybody, Vicki, it worked out perfect that you had your speech about inclusion today, because that's, our ultimate goal here at TK Schools is to make sure that we offer inclusion opportunities for all of our kids, here at school. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Sarah Hamer, I'm the Director of Special Ed and the Early Childhood Center. So we're gonna kind of just review, the Early Childhood Center obviously is up and running, it's a beautiful building, we absolutely adore it. The kids love the space. We've already had one parent night here, and we did an art show, and we raised actually almost over $1,200 for our PTO with the art show. We had grandparents and parents arguing about who was gonna purchase the art and everything, so next time we learned that we need to have the kids have more art than what they had before. Halloween was great because we've never had the ability to have all the parties at the same time, so we were able to work that out, and our inclusion program continues to be really successful. So within our GSRP program and within our tuition programs, we have kids included with IEPs, and that continues to be a highlight for our school district, and a lot of other districts around the area are adopting what we're doing here in TK, so that's really exciting. And then one other thing I wanted to add too that I didn't include on this is that we're starting parent groups. After the first of the year, we're gonna partner with Early On, and we're gonna start 2 play groups a month on Fridays. One Friday's just gonna be our TK staff, and then the other one we're gonna partner with Bright Beginnings in hopes that we'll be able to capture some of our kids and get them in here and just give them the opportunity to enjoy this beautiful building. Yeah, absolutely, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, come on over. So we, obviously, we have 178 students that come through our doors. We have, 37 kids enrolled in our tuition program, 3-year-old, 68 in our 4-year-old tuition, 61 in our Great Start Readiness, and then 12 in our early childhood special ed. We continue to grow. We do have a few openings and some spots available, but again, we had to turn kids away in the past, and so now with our new building, we have that opportunity to continue to grow. We're already talking about what it's gonna look like next year and how we wanna operate our programs to adapt to what our community needs. So that's just really, it's so much fun. Here's our ECSD classroom. The kids are loving the new hands-on furniture and things that they have, the adaptive swing and the cubby areas, so they just are all smiles, and if you ever have a bad day, just go to that classroom and you will have a good day because they're amazing. Here's our 3-year-old kids, just really, again, enjoying all of the hands-on experiences, the sequoia tree, as the high school calls it, out on the playground, they absolutely love. It's a hot commodity, the sandbox. Whoever knew that putting sand out there, the kids love the sand, and so every day though, it's funny, they come in and they dump their sand, and it's like, all right, well, we gotta work on that can stand outside, but they have a ton of fun. Our 4-year-old tuition kids, here they are enjoying, you know, again, just the different activities, getting them ready to launch them off to McFall next year, those early on skills that they need, and again, just so much fun. Again, more 4-year-old, we had firefighters come, so we're trying to bring field trips to us because it's a little bit difficult to get our kids on the buses and everything, and so we tried to bring them in. We had Pierce Cedar Creek, and then the firefighters, and we're just, trying to get the community here. I think we're gonna maybe do the trolley might be coming and doing a little thing for another family involvement. So trying to get our families involved as well as give the kids a lot of opportunity. Our GSRP programs, we have 4 full-time GSRP programs here, which they're all-day programs, Monday through Thursday, and the kids, you know, just continue to grow, and I love it, and I mean, the kids are just so happy in the space. I can't even thank the community enough for this building. It's just great. And then also another part of my role is I'm obviously the director of special ed here. And we have several different programs that we operate. So we have one ECSE, like traditional type of program that's just students with IEPs. We have one ECSE inclusion program, 12 K-12 resource room programs, 5 K-12 cognitively impaired classrooms, 2 ASD classrooms, which are just K through 8. Eventually we'll need a high school program. I have 4 speech pathologists, 4 social workers, a 1.8 occupational therapist who supports our kids, 2 school psychologists, and then a bunch of different employees through the county ISD that we come and work with our kids as well. So,
What is ASD?
Autism spectrum disorder. Yeah. And then we have currently, so it was kind of a funny story, maybe not really. When I started this a couple weeks ago, we were at 390 kids with active IEPs. We're now up to 399. So within 2 weeks, we added 9 students to that list. But the majority of our kids, you can see, have speech and language impairments. And then it's kind of small, I apologize, but you can, you know, work your way down. And so we service a wide variety of students here in TK schools. And we have really great staff. We have a lot of kids that, because of where we're located, we keep a lot of our students home, and we keep them here in our schools, which I think is so crucial and so important. But we, support a lot of kids throughout our days. We also have kids that are center-based kids, so those are students that are TK residents, but they go up to our programs up in Grand Rapids. And so we have, you know, kids that attend the Total Communication up in Northview. We have kids that are in Empowered U, which is our transition program for our students who don't receive a diploma. They receive a certificate of completion, so they have the ability to be able to receive trainings and stuff after high school. We have a couple students that attend our schools for students with emotional impairments. And then we have some students that are severely multiply impaired, and they attend our Lincoln Developmental Center. And then we have 8 students that receive early on services, which is actually birth to 3. And then I talked to the early on provider last week, and she's like, hey, got 12 new ones that just came through early on from TK. She goes, I haven't ever had that, but there's 12 more other students with early on that live in our school district. And so we're busy, but it's a good type of busy. So a really good type of busy. My staff has been incredibly busy this year. Already we've done over 59 initial evaluations, which is a lot. But I think with us having more early on services, with you know, we have students that are moving into us. 28 of those students have qualified for service, and then we've had 20 students that have exited. So that's a celebration in itself right there. But we've been busy. It's been, you know, we've had our moments, but we have each other, right, Vicki? Yeah. So that's what gets us through. Yeah. I mean, our goals of special ed, oh my gosh, that's so small. It did not look that small when I did it before. But our goals of special ed is obviously when a student qualifies for special education, our goal as special education providers was to close that gap. And so we need to look at what's, like, specially designed instruction do they need in order to be able to, for us to close that gap. Some of our students, you know, that specially designed instruction might come with behavior, and so we have to try to figure out what makes them tick, how can we work, what's the function of their behavior. Some of it might be learning, and so we work with the general education teachers and the special education teachers to close that gap. Sometimes it's speech and language, so it just depends, but our overall goal is to just, what are we gonna do as educators here to help with what specially designed instruction do they need, what skills are they missing, in order to be as functional as they can, as they, you know, launch off, as independent as they can, as they move through their educational career. So we do have some really exciting data, to celebrate for, TK schools. How do I?
Here, I can try for you. It's kind of tricky because it's on the other screen. You want me to do that?
I'm like the least technological person here, and you're asking me to do that.
Oh, no, I got it. There we go.
And so every year,
Uh-oh, but I don't have access.
can you,
I've requested.
can you request it in a minute?
Yep.
Okay.
Google.
Technology's wonderful when it
All right,
works.
try it now. It's working 'cause
It's a
you're
beautiful
showing your
thing.
text to me.
Yeah.
Can you see if that works?
Yeah.
Now go back to it.
What it should be doing. There we go. Click on this, and it's gonna let me in. Boom.
Perfect, and that's for this.
So, don't worry, we're gonna zoom right in.
All right, so every year, as special education directors, I go to like a in-service retreat, and we're given all of this data, and it's all of the ISD directors and the data that is the state. And as TK schools this year, we had 100% score in results, which means that we were above the average and received 2s on our report card for the Ken ISD and also for the state in terms of the amount of students that we had proficient with IEPs proficient on the language arts portion of the MSTEP, as well as 8th grade students with the language arts portion too. Now, they didn't have a score for the math, but if we would have, or for 4th grade, or for math, excuse me, but if we would have gotten that, we would have also gotten a 2 there. And so we are above the state average as well as above the Ken ISD for our students with IEPs who are proficient on the MSTEP. So that is really, really exciting news. Now, that was they're always a year behind data, so it was for 2021, but still, that we've never had been at 100% since I've been the director here. So that was really exciting. We also received a 2 for, and this is 1920 data, so the data for the graduated students is even a little bit farther behind, but again, we were stayed put right there.
Okay.
So again, we scored a 2 there, so we had 92% of our students graduate, and then our students with IEPs, 7% of those students dropped out. But when you look at the surrounding schools and surrounding districts within the ISD, as well as the state of Michigan, we're in a really good spot. And so I was really excited to see that data, because sometimes I always cringe when I get that folder, but when I opened it up that day, that was great. So we had a lot to celebrate there. Yeah, go to the next
Do
one.
you want me to go back to this? And then
No, yeah, right here.
right here?
Right here. So if you can see up at the top, way up here, this is Thornapple Kellogg, right up here. So this is all the other districts within the Ken ISD, and Thornapple Kellogg is at the top of the church. So I know, right? So it was super exciting. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And so again, we're working hard and we're going in the right direction. And I know that there's gonna come times when we're gonna, maybe not always be at the top, but it's something that we can celebrate today at this moment. And so it was extremely gratifying to see that the hard work that all the staff's doing is really paying off. You might see about this. So more things to celebrate, so MSTEP trends. For our students, again, with IEPs, we're heading in the right direction, right? So, I mean, from 2018, and then we took a little dip in 20, 21, but we're right back up there in 2022 with the amount of kids that are becoming proficient in things with IEPs on the MSTEP. Again, it's just a one shot, but it's something to be proud of. We're not staying, we're going up, and that's exactly what our hope is when we, you know, give those tests and the things as teachers, as that specially designed instruction, it's showing that it's working and our kids are making progress. And then the SAT, PSAT trends as well. You can see that we're continuing to grow up and going up in this area too. And this is something that we've really taken some pride in, especially at the middle school and high school levels, is that all kids have the ability to be successful and to achieve. And just because maybe they say now they don't wanna go to college, or, you know, nope, I'm gonna go into a trade, or I'm gonna go do this, we're still putting value on that. And a lot of that, I think, has to do too with the teachers letting the kids know, you can do this, like you can do all hard things, right? And that's the important piece. So, again, lots of really great data to celebrate. All right, we have more students right now.
Yeah, I wanna make it like view mode though. Yeah, let it just go with it.
All right, we're good.
Sorry, you got all my bookmarks.
Yes, and so anyway, we currently have more students out at KTC than we've ever had before out on job sites. For our students who are gonna get a certificate of completion. I actually have one just walked in the door right now. Star of the show. She's working at a daycare, and doing great. So this is Laura, you can go sit down. You don't need to come up here and talk. I just want to you so you did such a good job. And so
My
she's,
dad forced me to.
well, come over here. And so anyway, so she's one of our students out on job sites. We have 12 students that are attending KCTC to get on the job training. We have a couple students that are at MCTI, which is the free college for students with IEPs, more than we've ever had before. We have other students with full-time jobs. All of our students are applying to Grand Rapids Community College as seniors. And then we even had our first student in a really long time get accepted to a 4-year program last year with an IEP. And so that's just huge that we're able to empower our kids to be able to feel that success. Strategies and things that we're using, right? That's specially designed instruction, or those, you know, those skills. We have had a bunch of teachers trained in Orton Gillingham, which is a reading program. We have links programs like Vicki hit on in every single building. We're using least restrictive environment parapros, so we have pairs that are pushed into our general education classrooms to help support the kids in there instead of pulling them out. We have a super strong MTSS and child mind process, so we're scooping up kids and growing them through that. We're utilizing a ton of coaching opportunities from the Kent ISD, where we have coaches that come in and work directly with our staff. I know Vicki's benefited from those multiple times, and knowing that when we need help, and it's okay to ask, and so we utilize that. Lots of teachers go into their office hours outside of their work day, and then we're building our own coaches within. So like we had some teachers go out and get trained, and they're coming back and bringing that and training our staff. We grew the most in all of our functional behavior assessment and positive behavior support plans in the whole ISD. So we had a 4, and we grew all the way to an 8. And so that speaks volumes for our staff, again, doing that meaningful work. And then we have a really strong co-teaching model at our high school right now, which is really preparing our kids to, launch into whatever career they choose. So many great things happening in the TK schools right now, and I just couldn't be more proud to, work side by side each and every one of them. So, I think that's it. So, if you guys have any questions? Yes?
I'm not familiar with child find process, can you help me out?
Oh, sure. So Child Find is when we have students that aren't making adequate progress. And so we have them, we have teams that meet, teams of teachers that meet, teams of professionals that meet. They come to us. We, talk about different strategies, talk about different things. We kind of launch them for 6 weeks, bring them back to us to see if they're making progress or not. And then if as a team we feel that they need to be, moved to the next step, of some testing, then we'll go back.
Thank you very much. I just love it though. I kept hearing family in the early part
Mhm.
and just getting the families involved with the little ones.
Mhm.
And that's awesome. And then, I was super excited to hear 20 students graduated out
Mhm.
because I'm not sure, you know, the goal is always
Sure.
give them the supports, take
Yeah.
away the barriers and get them back
Yeah.
again.
And like out of those like 100 and whatever students we have with students with speech and language impairments, the majority of them will graduate from speech and language, right? But it's the students with the learning disabilities and those things that are exciting when we've closed the gaps enough that they no longer qualify or meet criteria for that learning disability.
Yep. I love the whole thing.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments?
Just thank you, you noted lots of exciting stuff, I mean, just highlight after highlight after highlight throughout your presentation from, you know, the early childhood center, all the way out through the graduating statistics, you know, wow, what a just comprehensive, program that you've, been a key part of building and that your staff, so thank you.
The staff
Sarah,
is-
I just wanted to say thank you. The scores validate all the hard work that you and your team put forth, which we all appreciate. I know how hard Vicky
Yeah.
works. A couple of weeks ago, I spent some time in her class.
The district right here.
And just keeping everything heading in one direction is a challenge, but it's just amazing to see the work that's done in those classrooms, so thank you all. And then on top of that, you mentioned a lot of things that have taken place in the ECC, but what's also here as far as student count goes is the before and after school daycare. So we probably have 120 students that participate in that as well. So this building is very busy all day long.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. McCarthy, committee reporting?
And we didn't have any committee meetings between this meeting and our prior one, mainly because there's not a whole lot that's happening on the construction front right now. Let's see, GMB has sent all the high school plans to OAK for putting together the bid specifications. OAK is working on that right now, and we plan to have bids for the high school work hit the street next week sometime. Hopefully, prior to Christmas, we'll have those bids back, be able to evaluate them over the Christmas break, and then award bids at the January board meeting, hopefully. That's the plan. And that would get us, set us up for a perfect timeline for the summer work to be done at the high school. So that was it for the committee reporting.
Nice to be on the home stretch.
Yeah, we've been busy the last few years, so, yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, that takes us down to board items for action. And Mr. McCarthy, we have a new hire.
Yes, as you recall, at the beginning of the school year, we had Keegan Mitchell resign. She took a position with National Heritage Charter Program as an administrator. And at the time, Melissa Prohl was hired as long-term sub. She has reestablished her teaching credentials, and we have offered her that position full-time. So there's really been continuity in the classroom. It's just now she is hired as a full-time teacher.
That's good, thank you.
So with that, any questions, Mr. McCarthy, or entertain a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve Melissa Prohl, is that, am I saying that right, Prohl, for employment for the 2022-2023 school year.
Support. Okay, motion by Hamming, support by Dickman. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, board. All right, Mr. LaHaye, high school auditorium lighting purchase?
Yep, so, one thing for action tonight, I mentioned it in board updates, I believe I mentioned it at the last meeting as well. We hit the street with an RFP for new auditorium lighting. The current lighting is original, the bulbs obviously have been replaced, but the actual fixtures date back to 2008 when the auditorium was built, so they're 15 years old or so, and they're not very efficient. We've got some issues out there. So, posted a formal RFP to the state website, checked all the boxes. and we had those results come in. Basically, this is just a look at the actual specifications in the bid. We did include a voluntary alternate, so basically this was 24 lights with replacement of the fixtures as well, and all installation and electrical that was needed in addition to it. There was a voluntary alternate to actually see how much additional it would cost for color changing lights. All right, and this was something working with Steve Evans and technology team to put this RFP together. So replace 14 of the 18 Altman Chalice lights. That doesn't mean much to me, but my understanding of it is if we could get that, we can change the lights in the entire auditorium. So I think of the Wizard of Oz, the whole auditorium turns green, pretty neat. Now, to quantify this, before I talk about what the bids were, how they came in, I wanted to look at what we spend on an annual basis for the auditorium light. Okay, so I talked to Gary White, our maintenance supervisor. We're changing 12 to 15 bulbs a year. You notice a lot of them are out or kind of on their way out, and that's because we have to also rent a lift to get up there and replace the bulbs. We're burning up 12 to 15 a year. These are the fluorescent lights. I ran some numbers, I spared to the spreadsheet, but really our annual maintenance cost is just over $2,000 a year, okay, to replace these bulbs. And so for a 20-year cost, you can see it's $40,954 is what I came to. In today's dollars, obviously, over 20 years it's going to increase. But the reason I ran a 20-year cost is because that's the expected life of an LED replacement, okay? 50,000 hours is the estimate for how long they'll go before they no longer have 70% of their original light capacity. And so I estimated 20 to 24 years, and I went 20 on the low end. All right, so it should last quite some time. I did not consider the electricity difference between fluorescent and LED. Obviously, LED burn less, so our ongoing costs should go down a little bit, anyways, because we're not heating the room with our lights. So this is how the bids came in. We only had 2 bidders, and the reason I think partially was I wanted bidders to know what they were getting themselves into. So I made the RFP have a mandatory pre-bid meeting where they had to come in and walk the space and see it, bring an electrician, and know what they were going to do. Otherwise, you get apples to oranges bids. So we had Fantasy Lighting and M-Tech bid on this. You can see the base bids were significantly different, $20,000 different. And then M-Tech actually bid the alternate incorrectly, but doesn't really matter because Fantasy Lighting, who is a gentleman that the district has worked with before, with a different company that he worked with previously, his voluntary alternate for the color changing bulbs was only $3,000 more. So really, if you go back to the 20-year cost of $40,000, almost $41,000, the cost of this replacement of LED bulbs is actually going to save us money in the long run, not even considering electrical costs. So this seems like a no-brainer to me. We were thrilled when we got the bid back from Fantasy Lighting. This will be paid for with the Capital Projects Fund, not the general fund. And then it's something that we wanted to do. So my proposed motion is there on the screen, and I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any rebate options for going to LED?
It's a great question. We have done rebates around the district.
I know there's been in the past, I don't know where they're at now,
Yeah.
but there's been opportunities for some fairly substantial.
And we've taken advantage of that, Greg.
Yeah.
I know that we have in past years. My understanding is with auditorium lighting, these are such a specific, specialized light that there's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the color changing, do you need a control panel purchase also, or is that a computer software program?
It's a software program, and that was another reason, that having that voluntary alternate in mind, that was another reason I wanted bidders to come in and see exactly what we had, so they didn't bid it and then come in and say, oh wait, this won't work, we've got to charge you another $20K. That's not the case here. So this is a signed, sealed, delivered, this is what it'll cost to make it run.
So, and just so I understand this chart, the voluntary alternate total, including the base bid for Fantasy, is the 34,700.
Yep.
But for EMT, we would be adding those two numbers together?
Yeah, so if you look at it, and that's why I put, that's actually from the RFP, which is a 6 or 7 page document. That's the actual verbiage I put in the RFP, so you can see under voluntary alternate, it says replace 14 of the 18. I'm not sure why Amtech didn't, they quoted an additional 14. And I didn't follow up with them and ask them why, because quite frankly, they were so significantly higher than Fantasy. I did go back and ask questions of the gentleman with Fantasy Lighting to make sure that that was the way he bid it, and he said, yeah, he confirmed it. So, you know, I always do that with these type of things. I wanna confirm your bid price, I wanna confirm that this is installation materials, electrical, et cetera. Confirm the lifespan expected of the lights and the warranty and all that, so, yep, I'm confident in it. And it's about a 12-week lead time to get everything in place, and then a 1-week install if we do it, so. We'll have to figure out how that looks with the spring play, and if we can make this happen before the spring, musical, but, yeah.
One other question, is any of this stage lighting or is it general auditorium lighting?
It's auditorium lighting. I know that's something, so we kinda wanna,
Yeah,
there are several needs to the auditorium.
yeah.
The other big one that we spoke about briefly is the microphones. And that bid came in, we had 3 companies bid on that. I don't wanna digress too much. They all bid differently, even though we had a pre-bid walk through as well, they bid significantly different systems. And so we're gonna actually take that one back out. We're not gonna name a bidder on that. I'm working with the tech guys, right now on what we're gonna do with that. But, there are some stage lighting needs, but they decided those were kind of secondary, and let's get these ones taken care of first.
Okay.
Any other, besides the, lighting and the sound system, any other, thing, what else is on the list for the
I
auditorium?
have to look at it, it's been a little while.
Yeah,
It was one of the first things I did when I came on board in March. We had a meeting and talked about it, and it was, you know, the auditorium's getting away from us a little bit. Holy cow, it's like, you know, it's like a son or daughter. How did it get to be 15 so quickly? So it needs a little upkeep.
I think some of the seating needs to be
Yeah,
replaced.
there's
Yeah.
some different ideas, the way that the stage, you know, entry all goes about, but overall, it's still a really nice
Yeah.
space. I have concerns about the upper balcony, being 2 feet tall, it seems like, but that's a whole different thing.
You're just
Um,
afraid of heights. There
Well, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
He's also taller than we are.
Yeah, see, for me, it's not an issue.
Yeah, so there is a list, and we're kind of working through it. The plan is to kind of pick off things each year
Yeah,
and keep cycling.
Thank you.
Yeah.
all
Is
right.
there any other questions? Alright, so, looking to entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approve the purchase of the voluntary alternate bid from Fantasy Lighting for a total cost not to exceed $34,725 and the all-important 68 cents.
I'll second.
A motion by Dickman, second by Hinton. Is there any further discussion or questions? Alright, that is a roll call vote.
Right, Houston,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Dickman,
Yes.
Hamming, yes, Smith,
Yes.
Hinton.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, board. Alright, that takes us to superintendent's report.
Sure. We've been chatting about planning for strategic planning. Erica, Kim, and I this morning met with Debbie Steer from MASB, sort of did an introductory meeting trying to sketch out the strategic planning that would more than likely start in January and move forward next spring. I will try and clean up my notes and get something to you later this week on how that whole thing lays out, but we're prepared to start moving forward with that, so I want you to know that. Mrs. Buchanan mentioned the Veterans Assembly. I was not able to make that, but I heard rave reviews about Andrew Beck's presentation, which I just wanted to make a comment to that. It sounded like he did a great job. Yeah,
Best one in 12 years.
Yeah,
Best speech.
that's great to hear. So, you know, let him know that if you see him. It sounded like it was great, so. Let's see. So staff basketball game on Friday night was a great event. I don't know if any of you made it. Chris participated. I told everybody they don't have a strap-on AED, so I can't participate, but, anyhow, cause I would've fallen right over out there on the court, but anyhow, it was a great event, for close-up, and I don't know how much they raised, but, it was.
They did a
Oh,
great
yeah,
job.
it was
Yeah.
very, very busy, yep. We had a chili cook-off in the office a couple weeks ago, and I want you to know that I came in second to Erica Dudek back there, so. Anyhow, it was just a fun event, we invited some of the maintenance guys over to, have lunch with us as well, so. And then, I just wanna say happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Oh, thank you.
May or may not see you before that time. The last thing would be a discussion about potentially, because Allison can't make next week, Monday, for the planned evaluation meeting. Jake is not going to be here, I'm just wondering if there's any problem moving that back a week to the 28th, opposed to, the 21st.
It's fine, that actually works better for me, so,
Does it?
yeah.
I'd just like as many of you there as possible.
I don't think I can do it, is that the week after Thanksgiving? I cannot, I'll stay the other time.
I cannot on the 28th.
That's fine.
I can do, like, you wanna start throwing dates out, or do we wanna do?
Well, that's,
If we
Mondays.
stay with it, I'd request it's later, like 7.
yeah,
Um,
well, I'm flexible and I will fit your schedule if there's a date that works best for you, but I would rather not push it too far because, we're already gonna be into December before we know it
What
either.
about Tuesday the 29th? Tuesday, no, are you out
I-
that whole week?
I don't think.
No, we're in Wisconsin for Thanksgiving, we'll probably be back,
Okay,
I can try to be back by Tuesday,
or Wednesday the 1st?
definitely back by Wednesday.
Wednesday's the 30th.
Oh,
I can't
okay,
do that.
You cannot?
No.
okay. So,
Well, I don't think you need this for me, but I'm sure Jay too. Jay can't make it.
Jay can't make it either, yeah. So, as we go any further, it's gonna be, and the furthest I would like to go, maybe would be the 1st, and I don't know if, that works for any of you, which would be Thursday.
any other dates work here?
Would Thursday the 1st work?
Mhm.
It's okay.
Work for you, Jay? Okay, that would get then, 6 of you there for sure. I just want as much input as possible in that process, so. All right, well,
I
thank
will
you.
I'll be skating for the 6th.
Right at
So
6.
Jeff will get us going.
6, that's what my question.
6 p.m.?
It was 6 for Monday, yeah.
Was it?
No, it wasn't
I had
7.
I had it at 6.
No, I had
Eric?
the 7 because I was taking this.
7?
Sorry.
Sorry, I thought you had me there.
But if the first, or on the 1st, or 6 o'clock works.
now, so if you want 6.
6 sounds better to
Fine.
me.
Okay.
Okay, so what are we?
6 o'clock on the 1st.
6, okay, so
6:05 for you?
6:05, unless Jess wants to get it going.
Okay,
Alright, and we're going December 1st?
12/1, yep.
Alright,
All right.
6 o'clock, we're up to.
Thursday.
Yes.
All
Okay,
right, well, that's
thank you, sir.
it for me. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
here.
here,
Okay.
yep,
Alright, and then with that, you're all set, right?
yes.
Do you have anything else? Okay. Alright, we are, gonna go into closed session.